Hello, everyone, and welcome to this installment of the Daily Cannon Tactics Board. Stephen Bradley here, bringing you the tactical tweaks and quirks from Arsenal's run-of-the-mill 3-1 win over West Brom. Basically, a very straightforward affair, and not a lot to talk about. A couple of interesting, team selections to say the least, and this was more a case of West Brom's poor defending than Arsenal's really good attacking, as we'll talk about in a minute. But if you do end up enjoying this video, please feel free to leave a like. It's always greatly appreciated. If you see something that you might disagree with, or if you spotted something yourself that you want to talk about, throw a comment in the comment section and we'll get back to you. And if you want these types of videos in your inbox on a regular basis, subscribe and they'll be into your inbox either the day of the game or the day after the game, depending on when it gets made. And this game was... The team selection was almost more interesting than the game, because we knew that Pablo Mari and Granit Xhaka were going to miss out, but Aubameyang played, Lacazette came on, Tierney started the game on Thursday. There was a lot of, balls in the air, per se, to say, and it was going to be interesting to see what Arteta did both at left back and centre midfield after, Thomas Partey had an okay game, but he's still, being, managed. His minutes are still being managed by the fact that he picked up, a thigh injury and just after Christmas, and he's still, getting to full fitness. So it was going to be interesting to see what pieces fell. And the team he picked is mostly defendable, to be honest. I mean, the majority of it is the team you would pick on a normal basis. Leno in goal. He's the best goalkeeper we have. Yes, Matt Ryan's doing okay, but Leno's still the number one for now. Chambers at right back, he's been doing okay, and his ability to cover centre back at times if Arsenal go to three at the back is always helpful. More about that in a minute. Holding is pretty much the de facto number one right centre back, and with Mari out, Gabriel is the only other left-footed centre back we have, so he plays there. And Saka at left back. Regular viewers will know my feelings about Saka at left back right now. Is he good there? Yes. Do I want to see him there? No. I want to see him up the pitch as far as possible and an actual proper left back behind him. Please get well soon, Kieran Tierney. So seeing Saka there, okay, he's not Arteta doesn't really have much choice. What can you do? Martinelli up top, again, fine. I want to see this man get as many minutes as he can. His development is crucial for Arsenal's improvement. So is Saka's, so is Smith Rowe's. So at least seeing them being played is a positive. These players need as much minutes as they can, because we're going to be building the future Arsenal team around them over the next 3 to 5 years, hopefully. And the more time they get under the belts, the better. Would I have played Martinelli at centre forward? It's a tricky one. I think right now he works better as a... There he is. He works better as a left winger and cutting in and given the freedom to work on the long left. But with Saka playing left back, that's not really an option, because Saka is a very attacking left back, and you need someone with a bit of defensive capability behind him, which is why you can't really play Pepe there either. So Willian it is. Pepe on the right, because he's the best right winger we have. Does he fit in the way we want to play? So, but as I said on Twitter, and you can see where both mine and Daily Cannon's Twitter handles are there. I said that Pepe is Arsenal's, well, he's Arteta's version of Theo Walcott and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. He'll have, in every 5 games he plays, one of them will be brilliant, one of them will be awful, and the other 3 will be and as soon as he has one good game, you think, okay, maybe you can build on this. And then he'll immediately follow that with a bad one, which makes you think, oh my God, he's actually not that good at all. We need to sell him. And then he'll have 3 average games where you're like, is he good? Is he not good? Can we make a decision or not? And today just happened to be one of those games where it was all of them. He was awful for 30 minutes. He didn't run. He didn't make, off-ball runs. He did nothing. He just sat here waiting for the ball to come to him. And he sauntered up and down here, very little energy, and then the first chance he had to shoot a goal, he took it and he put it in the top corner. It was 2-0. So what do you do? But the main criticism I have of this selection is not... I can see why Arteta did it, but it's still not the greatest look after Thursday, when he's talking about, making strict decisions and decisions that will affect the future, to play Danny Ceballos in centre mid. because he's not staying at the club. He's just not good enough. Like, the fact that we didn't pay for him is a good thing. When we brought him in at the start of last season, we were all hopeful. We were all thinking, yeah, this is a good player coming from Real Madrid. We need a replacement for Aaron Ramsey. He'll fit in nicely. And he did for a month. And then, for whatever reason, maybe it's the pace of the league, maybe it's the fact that, the fact that Unai Emery left in November, playing a different system, doesn't suit him. It's tricky, but he's never really fit in. Instead of having one good game, 3 average games, and 1 bad game, he'll have 1 good game, 2 average games, and 2 bad games. So, seeing him leave isn't too much trouble, but the fact that, the likes of, Joe Willock is at Newcastle right now, uprooting trees and keeping them up almost single-handedly at the moment. The fact that Miguel Aziz, the promising young midfielder in the under-23s, played on Friday night. Like, there's no one else. Like, even with Elneny, you're like, oh God, do we have to play Elneny? And Elneny's the only defensive midfielder at the club, really. Thomas Partey's a box-to-box, and Ceballos is a number 10 playing as an 8. And like, you look at the team you look at the subs bench. Like, it's like, okay, we can't play Ceballos. It's like, well, he's not a midfielder. He's not a midfielder. Okay, Partey is a midfielder, but he was given a rest. Not a midfielder. Another number 10 who can play number 8, but not really a box-to-box like Arsenal need. Not a midfielder. And therein lies the problem. You don't want to play Ceballos, but you have to because you've no one else. And it just shows you how poorly this squad has been built over the last few years, where you've got 4 midfielders at the club that you trust, and one of them has been playing left back for the last month because you didn't buy a reserve left back. There's just too much pressure on too many positions, where you can have 4 centre forwards now. If Martinelli is a legitimate centre forward option, you now have 4 at the club, with Aubameyang occasionally playing left wing, but he's best played as a striker. Lacazette is best played as a striker. Eddie Nketiah is only best played as a striker, and now you've got Martinelli up front. So the squad is unbalanced. The squad needs changing, and with reports that that's exactly what Arteta wants to do, great, but doesn't help us today with the West Brom game, does it? And that's the issue. It's just another game where square pegs are being put into round holes, and today they got away with it. It's a weird game to analyse because for a month, since Tierney went down with a knee injury, Arsenal, if you watch these videos before, you'll know that Arsenal's plan when having the ball is to push the right back up here, for the right centre-back to shuffle over, for the left centre-back to shuffle over, and then when this is Xhaka, he plays here. When this is Partey, he sits in. Smith Rowe goes into there, where Odegaard likes to be, and basically runs into these channels. And then, there we go. And then Ceballos will fit in here, just to give Xhaka a little bit of extra cover, just in case they lose the ball. God forbid Arsenal ever lose the ball in transition. But it's to give a little bit of extra protection here. That way, if there is a counter, Xhaka has time to get back. Chambers has time to get back from right back, and Ceballos can drop in, and they can somewhat get a bit of shape back whilst defending a counter-attack, a transition. But with Saka playing there today, that's obviously not an option. Saka as a third centre-back, complete non-runner. Chambers as a third centre-back, on the other hand, not a bad idea. So Arteta today pulled out the old Uno reverse card. And instead of it being the right back that shuttled up the field and the 3 other defenders doing this, what they did was they pushed Saka up the field. And Gabriel, being left-footed, went to the left-hand side. Holding went to the middle. And now Chambers is the third centre-back with a right foot. And Nelly dropping back. And now Elneny's almost here. And it's a very much, with Willian cutting in a bit and Ceballos holding there, it's very much a 3-2-4-1, with Willian almost playing kind of here at times, almost like an inside left, not really a winger. Then Smith Rowe playing as an inside right, going in here, and it's something. It's okay. I mean, the thing is, though, it is rather easily defended if you're strict and if you're disciplined. And for all the talk of Big Sam Allardyce bringing defensive discipline to West Brom, this team was not disciplined because playing Matt Phillips as a number 10 is exactly what they did at Chelsea, and it worked because Chelsea basically lined up with 5 at the back, and Phillips and Robertson's job was to go in these spaces here, and every time they just launched a long ball, it dropped in here, they went through and they ran through. It was the one game where Chelsea were caught out, and you saw what trouble Chelsea caused both Real Madrid and Manchester City over the last week. Like, it was that direct nature that caused Chelsea so many problems. And with, Ceballos pushing up the field as well, and Nenny sitting here, when Saka went on one of his, sojourns up the field, Robertson basically stayed here in order that if Johnson gets the ball, it's pinged immediately out to Robertson or immediately out to Pereira, and they immediately go on the counter-attack. And we can see by the heat maps here, you can see exactly what West Brom were trying to do. It's boof, boof. Like, they didn't want the ball in the middle of the field at all. It's, as soon as Arsenal lost the ball down the channel, ball down the channel. That's it. And it didn't work. Let's be as frank. Like they did make some chances, but they was mostly long shots. Apart from Pereira, who got the ball in transition, ran straight through the Arsenal midfield and scored, showing us that a Ceballos and Lenny midfield isn't really the best defensively. Don't tell anyone. But what Arsenal did to overload was just basically fill the left-hand side. So Ceballos ended up here, Willian was here, and Saka was here. And they tried to make basically this. They tried to get as many players on the left. It's usually on the right-hand side with Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Pepe, maybe Saka, doing it on the right. But they tried to do it on the left. And this is the result. Like, if I just pick Saka, Willian, and Ceballos, like, you can see there what the three of them are doing. Like, Saka's here, gets Ceballos, he runs on, Willian cuts in a bit, and then the occasional, run behind from Saka. And that's where the Arsenal had the ball the most. In this little triangle here. If I had a telestrator, I would draw a pen around here. That's where Arsenal had it. And because Robertson was staying here behind him in an attempt to force Saka back, which didn't work, Phillips kind of guarding this space here, it was almost 3-on-2 at all times because Martinelli was doing a good job occupying both centre-backs, just with his running and his ability to make runs around the back. So, this is really simple stuff when you're defending like this, because what you have to do is make sure that this space here doesn't get exploited, that the left fullback doesn't get here time and again, which means you have to shuffle over. Yakuzlu, has to go in there. Phillips has to help here. Townsend comes here, and Gallagher comes here. And yes, occasionally you're going to leave Pepe here because Pereira is doing the same as what Robertson is doing. And Arsenal at times will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And, Gabriel will push up and Chambers will push up. And, you're going to get outnumbered. But if Robertson can tuck in here, Townsend, Bartley, and you basically use the 18-yard box as your zones, you either shuffle Saka all the way into the corner and two of them trap him there, or, because he's left-footed, you make him cut inside. Not that hard, right? Phillips was doing a great job of filling this half space as well, giving a bit of help. But Saka wasn't the one driving past Furlong. Furlong was doing an okay job on him, but Yakuzlu and Phillips. And when Yakuzlu went here to Mark Martinelli, it was Phillips here, and Ajayi would come across because they didn't want the quick switch to Pepe. Saka would immediately give the ball to Willian. And this is where I cannot fathom what West Brom were thinking, because Willian is right-footed, right? So, as much as you don't want Saka to get into here, you do want Willian to get into here. because he's right-footed. You don't. If he has to cross in on his left from here, you take it because he's not very good in his left foot. But what Furlong and Phillips were doing, they were constantly showing him inside. They were doing this. They were basically like letting him on, and they were both doing it. Neither of them would leave him to the other, and you can see exactly the space where Willian is going to pass the ball. It's in here to Saka. And go back to Saka's heat map. This, time and again, both Furlong and Phillips would mark Willian, and Willian had every intention in the world of passing it. He was not going to shoot. So he would turn around and just knock it down there. Now, obviously, Saka would be here and then make the run. But there were times where Willian would have the ball and then both Phillips and Furlong would come. And Saka would run round and he'd go through this gap and Willian would just knock the ball around here. Like, they were so concerned with, making sure that Willian kept doing this that they completely ignored the area behind them, the one area where Saka is most effective. And as a result, Saka got in behind the backline again and again and again. And then when Saka got in, like, you can, if you watch the replay, you can see Phillips going, because he knows he's made a mistake. Ajayi covers Martinelli. Bartley and Townsend have the far post. Kuzlu is here. Smith Rowe gets in behind him. He's got an easy tap in and it's 1-0. And you're like, I can't understand the thinking behind defending this way. And then you're like, well, okay, if they're trying to shuffle Willian into the centre because they don't want him to go out wide, then you'd imagine that they've said the same on the right-hand side. That they've gone, right, okay, if Saka is getting able to be shown out there, then they want Pepe on the right-hand side to be done the same. Because they believe that against Martinelli, Ajayi and Kyle Bartley and Darryl Furlong are better at heading the ball away than Smith Rowe and Martinelli and Willian and maybe Saka are at heading it. They back their physical ability to get their head on the ball first. With Pepe, even if Townsend is 1-on-1, they still think that they can get across it. They can get across away, and that's reasonable thinking. Like you pack there, Kuzlu comes back, and then it goes out, and then you're, three really quick lads, and Diagne can hold up the ball well against not a very good defensive midfield, and a very attacking left back, and three centre backs. Like, it's a good theory, but somehow what West Brom were doing to Willian, shuffling him inside to make sure that he ran in basically into a wall, they didn't do with Pepe. Because with Pepe, this is what you're supposed to do. Gallagher comes in, Bartley stays there, and Townsend goes there. And you give him all of this. You let him run down the right wing to his heart's content. If he gets down there with his right foot, yay. Oh well, if he gets it, you come back. If he gets a cross in with his right foot from there, if he hits Martinelli's head, GG. But no. Instead, Gallagher basically stuck to his guns, and Townsend and Bartley kept showing him inside. Had they watched 1 ounce of film, everything about Pepe's game is getting the ball onto his left foot and cutting in. Yet Townsend and Bartley were obsessed with showing him inside, and whilst this happened every time Willian did it, so that Saka could do that, every time Pepe had it, Gallagher was not showing the same ambition getting back, and Pereira was, doing a Robinson. He was staying forward, and Phillips was making sure that they had numbers because Saka was over here. So it was 2-on-1 constantly, but Pepe was never shown down the right. He was always shown inside on his stronger foot. And Pepe from there is only ever going to do one thing. He's going to shoot. And sometimes it ends up around here, sometimes it ends up around here, but, in this instance, it ends up right in the top corner and it's 2-0. And that's it. Game over. West Brom's season is over, and Arsenal have a meaningless win. It's sometimes in games like this, it's not what you do, it's how the opposition, react to it. And today was a perfect example of why West Brom got relegated. Because, yes, Big Sam is a very good coach, especially a very good defensive coach, but this team today did not play to his defensive instructions at all. They gave Willian too much space, they gave Saka too much space, they gave Smith Rowe too much space. Martinelli was quiet enough, but again, he's learning his trade. Like, he's a left winger trying to play centre forward. I don't blame Arteta for starting him centre forward. He needs game time to learn. And look, Pepe had just one of those games where he pings one into the top corner. You would have liked to seen a couple of more young lads played, to blood them, to give them experience of Premier League football, even if this is a championship team now. But yeah, it was a win. It was a welcome win, but you're not exactly going to go shouting from the rooftops saying, "Yes, Arsenal, we're back." We're not. This just beat a team that are 19th relegated. It's Arsenal need stronger tests. They need to get the youngsters more involved. They need to figure out very quickly who they need to build around and who is in essence going to be put in the shop window over the next 3 games, because Arsenal have a big job ahead of them and there's a lot of work to do. Again, if you like this video, please leave a like at the bottom. It'd be greatly appreciated. If there's anything you saw that you want to talk about, comment below and we'll get back to you. And if you want these videos in your inbox on a regular basis, subscribe and they'll be with you on the day of or the day after the game. And yeah, Arsenal have a lot of work to do, but it could be worse. At least we don't have Chelsea on Wednesday,